I'm Meena Priyadarshini, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, SRM ISD, and my topic for today is file organization and access methods. So, before getting into the access methods, we will see what a file organization is. We will see different types of file organization. So, a file organization is the logical structuring of records and the way in which it is accessed. So, in order to choose a file organization, there are many criteria to be considered. The first criteria is we have to access the file in shorter access time, and it should be easy to update the file, and the cost of storing the file should be less, and it should be easy to maintain the file, and also we have to think about the reliability of the file. So all these criteria, it always depends on the application, and the priority given to these criteria will depend on the application that uses the file. So we will move on to the file organization types. There are many types of file organization. The first is going to be the file, then the sequential file, then index sequential, then we have indexed file, and finally we have direct or hashed file. So these are the diagrams for each of these types, and then we will see one by one when we see the organization type. So the first one is the file. So file organization is the least complicated file structure. It actually collects the data as it is and it stores as it is. So records may have different fields and the similar fields in different order also. So each field should be self-describing, as we have variable length records here. Each record, it can be having a different set of fields or same set of fields with different order in different order. So each field should be self-describing, including the field name and the value. Length of each field should also be indicated by delimiters, such as like it should have a subfield actually mentioning about the length of each field. So there is no structure, so record access is an exhaustive search. So if we have to find a record, we have to find all the fields of each record until the desired field is found. So we will move on to the next type, which is the sequential file organization. This is the most common form which is used, and the fixed format is used for records. That is, all the records are of same length, consisting of same number of fixed length fields, and the order is also the same. So as the length and the position of each field is known, only the values of the record need to be stored. So the field name and the length of each field are the attributes of the file structure here. First field is the key field, and it uniquely identifies the record. The first field is going to be the key field, and it uniquely identifies the record. Thus the key values for different records are always different. So as it is a unique key, each of these records will have different values in the key field. Accessing a record in a large sequential file is always have a delay. That is a disadvantage of having the sequential file organization. The sequential file organization are also stored in a sequential way in the blocks. It means that the physical organization of the file matches with the logical organization. Usually when a new file comes in, it is kept separately in a pile file or a log file. So what happens, how do these additions of files taken place in this sequential file is, whenever a new file comes in, it is kept separately as a pile file or a log file. And periodically what happens, it is actually merged with the master file, and the sequence of the file is maintained. An alternative way to organize the sequential file is actually having it as a linked list. One or more records are actually stored in each physical block, and each of these blocks are linked. The insertion of the new record will always involve a pointer manipulation, as if we use a linked list. The next type of file organization is indexed sequential file organization. So this approach actually overcomes the disadvantage of sequential file organization. As we saw in the sequential file organization, it actually takes a lot of time to search a particular record, access a particular record. So records are here, the records are actually organized in a sequential way, but then on a key field, it is based on a key field it is organized. So there are two features added here. The first one is the index to the file, which supports the random access, and you have something called as an overflow file. So this overflow file is similar to that of a log file which we saw in sequential file organization, and it is integrated so that the record in the overflow file is located by following a pointer from the main file, the previous record. Say for example, a record in an overflow file is a logical successor of some record in the main file. So what happens here is the record in the main file will have a hidden field which actually points to the overflow file, the record in the overflow file which follows it. So what happens, the search will go on until it finds the null pointer. So the search will go to the main file, and from there it goes to the overflow file and until it reaches the null pointer. So single level indexing is used, and index is again a file here. This is a file here. Each record in the index consists of two fields. So each and every record in this index file has two fields. One is a key field. Key field is the same as that of the key in the main file and pointed to the main file. So these are the two fields. To find a specific index, the index is searched to the highest key value that is equal to the key or it precedes the desired key. Say for example, I have to find some record here. The index is searched in a way such that it actually matches with the particular record, the key which actually points to the particular record or which precedes it, so that the access is actually easier. So additions in the file are handled in the following manner, like say for example, each record in the main file will have a hidden field, as I told you, which is not visible to the application, and it is a pointer to the overflow file. So the record in the main file that immediately precedes the new record in the logical sequence is always updated. So then accessing the overflow file will happen until it reaches the null pointer. So the indexed sequential file greatly reduces the time required to access a single record without actually spoiling the sequential. We will move on to the next file organization type, which is indexed file organization. So here in indexed sequential file, there is a limitation which is retained from the sequential file. The limitation is the processing is actually limited to only one single field of the file, which is the key field. If we have to access the record with some other attribute other than the key field, both of these file organization techniques will fail. So in some applications, we need to access the file with some other attribute. So to achieve this flexibility, a structure is needed that employs multiple indexes. So we have multiple indexes employed here, one for each type of field that may be the subject of search. So the concept of sequentiality and single key is violated here. So there is no sequential organization here. Records are accessed through their indexes. So there is no restriction on the placement of records as long as it has a pointer which is pointing to. Furthermore, like variable length records can also be employed here. So there are two types of indexes used here. One is the exhaustive index, another one is the partial index. The exhaustive index contains one entry for each and every record in the main file. So for whatever records in the main file, this exhaustive index will have one entry. The partial index will always contain entries to the records where the field of interest is existing, like likely to be searched records. Those indexes alone will prevail in partial index. So this is used in applications where the timeliness of information is critical. For example, airline reservation system, which is one of the example for a time critical application. So this type of file organization is used in such application. Then we will move on to direct or hashed file. So this direct or hashed file will actually use the capability of the disk which is found on the disk, that is to access directly any block of known address. As sequential file organization and indexed file organization, this also has a key field and it requires a key field for each record. However, there is no concept of sequential ordering. The direct file makes use of something called hashing on the key value. So these are used in very rapid access, whenever very rapid access is required and whenever fixed length records are used and where the records are always accessed one at a time. These are the criteria where this direct or hashed file organization technique is used. So for example, directories, pricing tables, schedules, name list, or these applications uses direct or hashed file. So that is it, and we are finishing the file organization techniques.